People, Deluded, I'm back again. You lot have been crying and crying. Where's Mo, man? You haven't got Mo on your channel. We finally done it. We haven't got long. I've got the main man himself. How you doing, my guy? It's been a while.
Yeah, man, I'm not too bad. I was actually just about to put that same top on. Would have been like
You
twinning.
should have, man. We'd have been matching.
Yeah, man. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm busy as hell. Life has changed a lot for me over the last few years now with 2 kids and stuff. So trying to fit everything in, Arsenal, watching every single minute of every single Premier League game is a myth now. But, I'm doing what I can.
And Mo, man, is you know what? Big up you for having your kids and being a dad. I've not been a dad, but I can imagine how it feels. Unfortunately, though, man, you still, like you said there, you still make time for Arsenal and things like that. It's been a while to catch up with you. So the first thing I'm gonna ask you off the bat, well, you made it Arsenal this season.
Man, it's like, we sit there second in the league, going really strong in the Champions League. Yeah, albeit domestic cup competitions, failure there. But it's like, there's hundreds of other fans of other clubs, that would look at 2 Arsenal fans talking and grumbling about their team, thinking like, come on,
Like we're
it's
spoiled
not
kids.
bad. But it just feels like, in some areas, it feels like we haven't pushed on from last season. And it's just the unbelievably frustrating fact that Man City are faltering and we're not there. It always seems to be that, like in recent years, if the team that you expect to win it doesn't do it, it's never Arsenal. It was Leicester, and now it's Liverpool. It's just like, it's frustrating to me that we're not seizing this opportunity. But you know what? I don't think we recruited enough, to be fair, in summer or in January for me to say we should be up there. Like it's our own doing, right? It's our own making. So I'm disappointed, and I realise that we haven't pushed on how I wanted us to push on from last season. But in spite of that, we're still doing okay.
And that's the saddest thing is that on paper we're second. We all know the context is behind why we've gone out, but in May it's going to say Arsenal in the semi-finals. But you kind of touched on it there, and I did want to ask you this. The manager speaks about maximizing the markets. We know it's not just all on him, but like, how do you feel about the last 2 markets? And like, do you feel we really want to win silverware, like as a collective club from top to bottom?
It's a weird one. I still believe that, yes, we do. I feel like Arteta's very, very driven. I really don't feel I don't feel like he's just here to take part. He's a young manager that his stock is very, very high. That doesn't last a long time. Mikel Arteta, any young manager will know very, very well that it's a brutal game management. And your stock can be very high at one moment and then you are gone. You are nothing. So I appreciate the fact that, look, he does want to win. And what I found very interesting in the last transfer window, just January gone, he actually said about wanting to sign a striker, needing to sign a striker. And historically, at Arsenal Football Club, they're very joined up internally. So when someone comes out externally and says something like that, the result follows. So I'm conditioned to that way of operation at Arsenal Football Club. So I thought as soon as he said it, I was like, wicked, we're getting a striker. Like I expected to announce a striker. I don't usually bother with transfer deadline day and stuff. I don't like the circus of transfers. But
you and me both.
Yeah, I was like, where are the rumors? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm fully expecting it. So I think that there must be a bit of unrest now because, the reaction from the fan base hasn't actually been too bad. And I think the 5-1 against City really helped with that. But Arteta said we're going to do it or indicated they were going to do it, and we didn't do it. So whose fault is it? And I feel like Arteta is exposing the people behind the scenes because they didn't make it happen. And he even expressed his disappointment there. Now, not only that, when you look back at Edu's departure, there are comments, there are rumours around that, perhaps that was performance-based and some of the signings that he made didn't work out and there was a bit of disappointment there. Well, listen, man, if he went, maybe another head has got to roll because, if Liverpool drop the required points and we don't go on a run, questions have got to be asked. In a way, maybe internally in the Arsenal hierarchy, obviously everyone wants us to win the league. But if Liverpool just go and run away with it, do you at least want to see like really, really worthy champions? And right now they're on that track. Because if that doesn't happen, questions are going to be asked.
And that's the thing, man. Questions should be asked and they should always be asked. I want to we'll get back into the transfer news, but I wanted to ask you, yeah, and I'm sure you asked it on your YouTube channel, just being an Arsenal fan. Like, how long do you give Mikel Arteta? Like, I assume if, like, let's just say this time a year from now, we're in the exact same space, we're having the exact same question. Do you look at it a bit differently or whatever?
It's a really tough one, man, because, like I was saying, there's a hell of a lot of other clubs out there that would kill to have Mikel Arteta. So we can throw our toys out the pram all we want and act on emotion all we want and say, not good enough, he hasn't won a trophy, get rid of him, he can never take us over the line. And I'm hearing that more and more now with Arsenal fans saying that he's a good manager, but he's not good enough to get us over the line. Now, what that means is that, we're getting rid of potentially one of the hottest managerial prospects in Europe. And I don't feel comfortable with that. I think that he'll be a tough act to replace. And who are you going to bring in if we were to get rid of him?
That's a good point. And that's a very good point, man. And that's the thing. And I find myself battling with that, in that if we sack him, there's no guarantee of success. If we keep him, there's no guarantee of success. How do you feel about? Because for me, I do think he's a genius tactically. I do think he's a man with conviction. I do think, considering when he walked into where we are now, if you heard the rhetoric, like what you alluded to, if you hear the rhetoric around Arsenal and actually where we are, if you was an outsider, we do seem like privileged kids. But do you think he has shortcomings getting over the line? Like, we look at the Newcastle game, obviously we were 2 goals down, but we never really made a fight of it getting to the final. Do you think he's got a problem? Because we've gone out out of a lot of cup competitions and come up short since the FA Cup, man.
Look, man, I just think what it is, right? Like, when you look at Arsenal Football Club and you look at who's world class, who can you say is world class, like with your chest? Who can you really say? I actually think we've got
two
more,
at a push, if any.
Yeah, but I actually think you could make a case for more, but it's just for some reason, for unknown reasons, some players are easier to categorize like that than others. For me, Bukayo Saka is world class, yeah, undoubtedly. William Saliba is world class, and this is a really interesting one, right? If people say William Saliba is world class, I actually think, on balance, given Saliba's recent form and Gabriel's recent form, this season Gabriel has actually been the better defender.
He's been very underrated, if I'm honest with you, throughout his time here.
And even last season, I actually thought, on balance, Gabriel just shaded it with Saliba. That's not to say Saliba is not incredible. Obviously he is, but actually I think Gabriel's underrated. Now, so I think we've got 2 world-class centre-backs and we've got a world-class winger in Saka. Now, there's levels. So when you talk about world-class, right, people talk about that like the be-all and end-all. There's levels to that. Salah is showing us levels this season.
Yep.
He is the only difference between Arsenal and Liverpool, in my view. If Salah was out for as long as Saka was out, if Saka stayed in the team, Salah came out of the team, I think Arsenal would be like in a massive chance of winning.
He's our match winner.
Yeah, and we are suffering without him, and Salah has just Liverpool have just had to not suffer at all because he's just killing it week in, week out. Now, the reason I make that point between Salah and Saka is that where there's levels in world class, like Salah is just different level. He's Ballon d'Or class, never mind world class. Bukayo Saka is not Ballon d'Or class yet. Yeah. So there's a different level, and that is what gets you the trophies. Now, fair enough. You can't just go and buy that. That's very difficult. There's very few men walking this earth that are that Ballon d'Or class, right? You're not going to go and get Vinicius or Mbappe or Salah or Haaland. Who else? Who else is in that list? Maybe a Kane.
Yeah, right. Like the Viniciuses, etc., etc.
Yeah, there's like a handful of these people, right? So what we have to do, we have to kind of say, okay, fine, we can't get Ballon d'Or class, so let's add a bit more world class. And I think that's just what we're missing. So is it about Arteta can't get us over the line? Or is it about, it's really, really tough. Like anything in life, you can do the first 80% really easy. After that, each incremental bit of progress you want to make takes a lot longer. Yeah. So that's where we're at now. Mikel Arteta has done an unbelievable job, in my opinion, of making an 80% progress. And he's made some really tough calls. He's had to go through really difficult times. When I look at, in hindsight, honestly, I don't have love for players like Lacazette and Aubameyang and Ozil. To an extent I do, because they did do very well for the club. But I'm being really honest here. Were they busting a gut? Look at what Newcastle did to us the other day, right? That was not possible without Lewis Hall, without Fabian Schär, without Isak, without
everyone rolling up their socks,
without Bruno. Like, really, really putting in a shift and playing for the fans. I love Ozil as a player. I thought Aubameyang was a fantastic goal scorer. But were they really like giving every single bit of their energy for the club? They were having a good time, man. And when I look back at some of the footage and the jokes and stuff, it was a playground. Our club was a playground.
That's true. It's very nice and cozy.
And as fans, I think we've always got this like rose-tinted glasses. We love our players, right? So at the time, we're sort of like, oh, we like their personalities and stuff. It's coming up to 6 years now. I'm done with that. I'm done with personalities. If Kai Havertz scores more goals than Aubameyang, give me Kai Havertz. I might like
I hear that.
personality more. I might like the way he engaged with fans and his smiling, all that sort of stuff. Give me a languid, sort of awkward German guy that gets more goals, I'll take him. So I'm done with the personalities. And Arteta has moved us on. He was the guy that moved us on, that said, no, that's it, you're done. You see Amorim trying to do it now at Man United and struggling. Arteta actually managed to do that. He did struggle, 8th, whatever, but he's not 16th. Do you get what I'm saying? So he went down there at a really difficult point. We're out of that. And now he did what he could do. He did the 80%. Now he needs from the powers that be at Arsenal, in my opinion, help with the remaining 20%. And that is saying, like, look, Marmoush, he went in this window.
He should be an Arsenal player, man. He was there.
And I know this will be controversial, so people are going to start slapping that dislike button. Don't do that because they're going to affect DG, not me, right? But Marcus Rashford on loan.
Oh, you would have went for that.
I would have gone for that. And do you know why? Tell me, if he had gone from Man United to Arsenal with a chance of winning a slight chance of winning a Premier League, maybe even a Champions League, right? Name me a more motivated player in the country than him. How fired up.
You don't think we said that about Raheem Sterling? Very different, but same kind of area.
No, not at all. What has Rashford won in his career?
Couple, like Europa League and FA Cup. Not clearly not Sterling's level. Sterling's littered with trophies.
No legacy whatsoever. Raheem Sterling doesn't have proved himself to anyone.
True.
He has been there and done it and won everything. When his career, the word they're going to use is glittering.
He's part of the 100 club, isn't it? So you're right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He's smashed it. And Raheem Sterling doesn't get enough respect for what he's achieved. And, like when you talk about Premier League greats, he can mix it. Look at his achievements. He can mix it with anyone. So for me, I was happy with Raheem Sterling. I thought it makes good sense. But there's not that fire in his belly after winning that amount of trophies.
You've done it.
There will be for Marcus Rashford, whose stock has never, ever been lower. And he can all of a sudden come into a good team, perform really, really well, and say to everyone, you thought it was me. Look what I'm doing here at Arsenal, or look what I'm going to do here at Villa. It's not me. It's Man United.
Like Sancho at Chelsea.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Look at him. He's playing well now. So for me, and my point is, even if you disagree, like people might disagree and say, no, we're not going for Rashford. Well, what did we get? With Rashford,
we're relying on a 17-year-old, man, and he's probably our best attacker at the moment. It's a madness.
Yeah, and Rashford, he scored 30 goals in the Premier League going through the middle. Yeah,
That's a good point.
He has got that ability. I can't remember if it was 30 in all competitions or the league, but he had that fire season. So he's shown that he's got the ability to do it. And listen, Rashford and Havertz are completely different types of players. Even Gabriel Jesus, completely different type of players. So you've got three options there if Jesus comes back. If it's not working, you've got a completely different entity in our squad that we don't currently have in a Marcus Rashford, who would have been so fired up. I'd rather that than nothing. Find me someone that would rather no signing than Rashford.
No, I'm with you. It doesn't make sense because I personally believe if everybody was fit, I still think we're two attacking players short. So you can imagine how I feel now with Martinelli's gone out, and it feels like every 2 weeks there's another injury. So it makes sense. Just because you mentioned Sterling, I want to talk about the summer signings. Obviously, we can ignore Neto. He hasn't really played a part. What have you made of Calafiori? Do you think? Pardon?
Neto, to sign Rashford on loan, we would have had to have made Neto perm. Yeah,
definitely. I hope we don't do that.
Exactly. Maybe that's what stopped us doing it. My God, his one little performance shut him. Anyway,
I mean, he had his little performance. Well, he had his game against Girona, and he's probably shown why he doesn't play. I want to ask you about Calafiori and Moreno because some fans will say, "Well, he had Lewis Skelly. Was there a need to?" As much as I like Calafiori, was there a need to buy him? Moreno isn't a level raiser, and he's not really talking to Partey and Rice. It's not really the game-changing midfield we needed. But what's your viewpoints on them?
Moreno should have been Zubimendi. and hopefully we'll go and put that right in summer. That's it. Marino is not the guy. He's been to England before and it didn't work out for him. Not to say that it's not going to work out the second time. Look at Mo Salah again. But he hasn't raised the level. No one, when he comes on, is expecting him to grip a game. You could say, like, maybe he needs time to adjust, whatever, but I don't see a good enough player in him.
Just ain't got it in him.
Really, yeah, exactly. Like, he's good. He's tidy. Listen, I can go and play football on the streets of Spain. Everyone's going to be good and tidy. That's just the way they're built. Marino does not take us on to a new level. And if we're not going to sign players, like if on one hand in the January transfer window we're saying we didn't sign a player because we're only going to sign players that are going to move us to the next level, then explain Marino. He didn't do that for us. So if we can get a player just because we need a body that's not going to push us to a new level, also do that in January in the attacking department. That's what I would have wanted. As for Calafiori, I think he's a solid player. I like him. Look at the 2 goals he scored for us against Man City and against Wolves. Massive goals. There is a player in there. I really believe there is.
Still only 22, to be fair.
Exactly. But Miles Lewis-Skelly, my God. Honestly.
Him and Ethan, revelation this year, man.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. But this MLS kid, for me, is ahead of Calafiori. And it's unbelievable to me. I try and catch as much of the youth games as I can. Nwaneri looked good. He always looked good.
You can see he's a player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just in the way he receives the ball, dribbles with the ball, you knew he was good. His confidence. I did not see this with MLS. I did not see it coming in. You'll know this because I know you've got love for Hairland like I do, right? There's no harder thing in football than to go from the academy to the first team and make it look easy.
Facts.
Look how many players in just Arsenal's past. We talk about Zellerlam, Patino, Maitland-Niles. So many players that we had high hopes for, and they didn't manage to do it.
They just didn't do it.
And how's MLS making it like child's play? It's unbelievable.
Like he's been here for about 20 years.
Crazy. And do you know what annoys me?
Go on. Before I answer this with
TalkSport, I was into TalkSport, and I can't remember what game it was. Maybe it was Man City. I really can't remember what game it was, but they were saying like, "Oh, surprised they've picked MLS for this." I would have thought Arteta would want the physical battle and put Calafiori in, and I thought to myself, "This is the worst punditry I've ever heard in my life."
Lazy punditry, man. They're not actually looking; they're just saying buzzwords, man.
Yeah, just because he's a kid, he's not physical. MLS has bodied everybody he's come up against, other than in the Newcastle game where Isaac had us all on toast. But I just can't sing his praises highly enough. And Ranieri, I'm obsessed with him. I want to put a poster of him back on my wall like I'm a 12-year-old again. It's just like that for me is like probably the most enjoyable thing about this season because of my love for Hairlem boys coming through the system is the emergence of Ranieri and Lewis Skelly.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And I think the biggest testament I can give them is that for me, obviously we know you're young, but it's irrelevant. You are both arguably 2 of the first names on the piece of paper. And for an already depleted squad, for you not to take your chances and actually make a name for yourself, fair play, man. Where would we be without you? I know some fans are saying this, but I want to get your thoughts. Lewis Skelly's doing well. He's a rattler. He's strong. He gets that inverted role. He's being compared to Ashley Cole. Like, not only that, do you think he can go that far? And do you think his future is as a fullback or in midfield?
So yeah, you asked the question obviously because he's not a natural fullback. But I'll go back to the Maitland-Niles example, right? He wanted to be a midfielder, but you don't get to pick when you come into the team, right? You have to, as a young player, as well. Like Saka, exactly. He was on the left, he was on the right, he was left back, and then it started to become really obvious via his performances that he's just brilliant on the right. I remember just watching him one day, and it just clicking for me, like he belongs on the right. And then they still sort of like put him in different positions, and after that, now we see he's always on the right. MLS is going to be a left back, in my view, because he has smashed it in that position and he's taken to it. You don't get to choose your opportunity when it comes, and when it does come, you just got to
take it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd say that's probably true for every position other than a goalkeeper and a striker, because really then they're like more specialisms. But between defence and midfield, you end up sort of having the ability to move around at times. And MLS for me now is the future of Arsenal's left back position.
Because I indirectly said midfield, I got to talk to you about our captain. How have you felt about Martin Odegaard's performance? Because I'm not, you know me, and you're the same. We're not on scapegoating and things like that. But I do understand the balanced fans that say, you know what, I want a bit more from my captain. Definitely where Newcastle's concerned. Where have you been with Odegaard?
Yeah, with Odegaard, I was really, really glad he scored the goal in the Europa League because he hadn't scored for a long time before that. And I thought to myself, don't necessarily care in that given game. What I care is, will it give him more confidence to, get a few more? And
Kick
then he
on.
scored against Man City, and I was like, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted, because that's the bit that's missing from his game. Being that killer, not just in front of goal with the ball, like in terms of scoring, but also killer pass. He goes through phases where he manages to do it, but in this season overall, I have kind of been left
Stop,
wanting
start.
with him. Yeah, where I'm like, where is that moment of yours where you just pierce the defense and your chance creation metrics? I want to see all of that. So I was very frustrated against Newcastle with how wasteful he was with that chance and how differently that game could
You're
have
not
gone.
alone. You're not alone,
Yeah,
Mo.
look,
Definitely.
when we were talking about the world class conversation earlier, I said Saka, Gabriel, Saliba. I think there's other players in there that you could ask the question. Odegaard, you can ask the question. I would say no. David Raya, you can ask the question. I would say no. But
What about
his
Declan?
yeah, you know what? It's a really good shout. Actually, he eluded me in my thoughts, but he is brilliant. I think for his position, it's a longer burn to be
Yeah,
regarded as world class. But all he needs to do is carry on doing exactly what he's doing,
just needs
and
a
then he
body of
will.
work.
Exactly. That's a perfect turn of phrase to put it. Rodri didn't get ratings straight away, and
Definitely
now no
didn't.
one denies it. Anyone in that position, Makelele, Keane, the OGs of it, uh, the greatest of all, Vieira, like
So happy you
it's
said that.
yeah, of course, man. But yeah, even Gilberto, for example, look how long it took for him to be actually appreciated,
Still
because
not appreciated, I feel, to this day.
yeah, perhaps. But anyway, the point is, he's nearly there. I'd say he's very nearly there.
What have you made of Martinelli, Trossard? I have to ask you them two because, like, I'm not trying to blame them for anything, but like, they're two players, definitely with Saka being gone, that the burden needs to be lifted
Yeah.
by them two. What have you made of them two, man?
Trossard's done all right, to be fair. I think, often he's been hit with that you're a substitute card, but I think he has, on balance, he's managed to make a difference in a lot of games. And I still think, for me, when I'm watching this team, if the ball drops to anyone in the box and I just need a first time shot out of anyone in the
If
squad,
your
I'm
life
giving
was
it
on
to
the line,
Trossard.
yep,
Yeah,
Trossard.
he is the best instinctive finisher in our club. And listen to what I'm saying, an instinctive finisher. Because yeah, Bukayo Saka running to goal, I back him every
You
time,
back
for
him, yeah.
example. But Trossard has just got that like killer swing of a boot. So I think
I
he's
think
done all right.
Ethan's getting into that for me now.
Oh
I
yeah,
know it's
yeah, for
early, but
sure.
I think he's getting
Yeah.
into that.
Oh
Arteta
yeah,
said he could be a
brilliant.
9 as well, which I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, we'll see. With Martinelli, the thing with him is that I believe that in this like modern day of football, where football is played in such a systematic manner, Martinelli is a great system player, but that completely dilutes his flair. What we saw from Martinelli when he was coming up is almost coached and managed out of him now, because of the two, Saka is above, and therefore you prioritize Saka, and
Yeah,
and the system feeds Saka. Saka doesn't just receive the ball. You'll know he receives the ball in a particular way to bring him
on a half
inside the
turn,
pitch
man.
to give him momentum on his left foot, running
Ben White
at
did an
defenders.
interview about what you're saying as well, so you're bang on the money.
Yeah, yeah, and we've seen it week in, week out. Whilst when you look at Martinelli, it's not designed like that for him. Every time he gets the ball, he receives it to feet and faces up the defender. It's all about that right hand side. And I sit North Bank lower, right in front of the right hand side, where first choice 11, you've got Ben White, Martin Odegaard, and Bukayo Saka. And that triangle I've seen rip teams apart left, right, and centre. All of the system, the inverted, going all the way
Yeah,
from the inverted left back. And when a left back inverts, there's more responsibility on the left winger not to overcommit. So all of that, what's happening in the other corner of the pitch, left back, is there to complement our right winger, Saka, who is our best player. So Martinelli, I think, suffers as an individual in that system, but he's such a good system player. He does the job so well, works so hard. It's not the eye-catching stuff. It doesn't give him YouTube highlights, and therefore he doesn't get the ratings as a result of it. Saka gets the ratings. Now, not to say that he's absolved of all responsibility. When Gabriel Martinelli gets the ball to feet, do I think he should be doing more? Yes, absolutely. I think
100%.
he should be saying, all right, now's my opportunity. The dynamic of the game, or this moment of the game, is asking for me to take my man on. He doesn't beat the man enough. He doesn't do enough, and that's where I get a bit frustrated. But I don't know if you've noticed it as well. With Saka being injured, he's had an uptick in performances, in my view.
Yes,
Martinelli's been
there's been a bit more freedom per se for a
yeah,
couple of other attackers. You're bang on the
exactly.
money. That piggybacks off the previous point you made about the system with Saka.
Exactly
You're
that.
right.
Yeah. So this is not to say that we should change the system because it works so well with Saka, but Martinelli does suffer in that system. And just when he was able to express himself a little bit more, he was getting some time on the right hand side as well, filling in Saka's position and actually adding some goals, assists to his name. Now he's got injured, which is a real shame for him because this was his time to shine.
It's peak for us, man. As a fellow Martinelli lover, yeah, do you think his season, what was it, 2022, 23? Do you think that was a purple patch in hindsight?
No, I don't think it's a purple patch. I think that he came in the team in a different role, and now
True.
the team is designed around Saka. The system is designed around Saka. There's a reason why we invert from the left and not the right. It's because of Saka, and that's my belief. That's the way I see it. So Martinelli is doing a really good job as a system player. There's so many players in world football that are more system based than individual based, and Martinelli is very selfless in what he gives to the system.
I think you're bang on the money. My last question for you then, how confident are you that we're actually going to address all areas in the summer, whether that's a striker, a centre mid, a left winger, and then I'd band it under like just overall depth, because we are getting the think pieces out again about war chess and we're going to do this, that, and the third.
Yeah. Well, look, Jorginho's going in summer. His contract is up, right? Which I'm very glad about because he's been fine for us, but he's not that mobile, dynamic, hard-hitting midfielder.
We need better, respectfully.
We need better. Yeah, we do exactly that. We do. Because Jorginho is a very good player at what he does, but he's not very good at things that he's not good at.
Time catches up with all of us. It's cool. It's just you need to move on from it now.
He's never been the most agile, etc. So it is what it is. I don't see Marino being the player that can say, okay, I'm the new Jorginho in terms of doing what Jorginho.
I'm with you with that 1,000,000%.
Yeah, I actually think Jorginho, I'd rather he comes on than Marino because what Jorginho is good at, he's really good at. Whilst Marino, I think he's more of a jack of all trades.
So yeah, you're like 5 and 6 at everything. You're not really excelling at nothing.
Yeah, he's not bad at anything, but not great at anything. So Zubimendi, for me, he needs to come in and be our tempo setter. Facts. And there's a debate. I'd ask you, Declan Rice, is he better as a 6 or an 8 in your view?
Do you know what? Obviously, Declan Rice's bread and butter is a 6. He always refers to it, but I must admit, I think at the moment he looks quite good in the 8. My only thing with him is, you've never been that. Like, you're not going to be Michael Carrick. You're not going to be Frank Lampard. You're not going to be Gerrard. I know statistically he's improving, but how much blood from a stone are we going to get? One thing I give Rice is he's taken to it as good as he can. And I do think something I want to see from Odegaard, at least when things are going left for us, not to disrespect Odegaard, but Rice kind of takes it on the chin, on his shoulders, and he wants to make a difference. It's a mixed one. I must admit, Mo, Arteta is converting me to that, but I sometimes think just play players in their best positions. But you mentioned Zubimendi. If Zubimendi arrives, you never know of Arteta, but if Zubimendi arrives, Rice is surely in the 8. Zubimendi's a 6.
And also, when you're playing in that 8 role, you do think about what's behind you.
Exactly.
Right? And that gives you confidence. So even as a centre-back, your confidence to go and attack the ball is based on who's behind you. You see how Liverpool press.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In the league, do you know what I mean? Like, all of these things are connected. Like, I'm talking about Saka, and I'm referring to the inverted left back. All of these things are connected on the pitch. If we get Zubimendi, who's like in a Cazorla image in terms of being able to set a tempo and being like press resistant,
this is what we need.
I think that gives Declan Rice all of the confidence he needs to go and really express himself in an 8. Right now, we don't have that. Thomas Partey, some games I've seen him. And I've been thinking we need to move you on. Other games I've seen, I'm like, you've been brilliant. Like, he gets
the last 2 games we played sums it up. Like, Boss City ran against Newcastle. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So with him, he's not doing it consistently enough, and that's why I feel like we need to address that central area of the pitch. And I'd love to see Zubimendi come in, and we also need to go and get a striker. Give me Zubimendi and Sesko in the summer. I'm happy.
I'm with you. You don't think we need a left winger, whether that's Nico Williams, this one, that one, and the third, or do we persist with Martinelli and Trossard, or even Ethan over there?
Yeah. Nwaneri could do a job there, but he's so good at cutting in. Like, I
It's
don't
cash money,
know.
that shot.
Yeah, I don't know where his best position is yet. If I had to guess, I'd be saying off the right. And also, we could go and get a Nico Williams, for example, which obviously I would love. He's a great player, but is the system still going to curtail the flair and the
This is it.
attributes of a left winger? Because I don't know if anyone listening disagrees with me on that, but that's what I believe Arsenal's system is. It's like the old school view of a manager saying to both of his fullbacks, never should both of you be past the halfway line, only
Yeah.
ever one of you, right? And it's the same thing here, where with Saka, it's like, and Saka and Martinelli, you're not meant to be doing the same things. You've got slightly different roles in the team. So we can go and get Nico Williams, he can come in for Martinelli, but if he's asked to do the same job as Martinelli,
You're gonna look like him.
yeah, in a way, do you know what? It's a bit of a weird one, right? I feel like on the left-hand side, we need a really diligent player like Martinelli, but who's a better dribbler and a better one-on-one attacker. So, like a Jeremy Doku springs to mind, a player in that mold. Doku doesn't have the discipline of a Martinelli, though. So I'm almost thinking, like, who out there is like, we need the best dribbler on the planet. Maybe even like a Matoma. Adama Traore, obviously he's got no end product. So
just in terms of what he wants to do. Now, I think people will understand.
Because when Martinelli gets that ball, like I remember Mark Overmars back in the day, right? The way he would do it is very simple. He would just knock it past you and run. But he was
just on his bike, yeah.
We need someone that's more effective in the one-on-ones on the left-hand side, because that's how that player in this Arsenal system is going to get joy in that position. Even Bukayo Saka, he doesn't just always roast a man. It's because he's got people around him. He's got Ben White and Ødegaard in close proximity where he can play off of them, run in behind. But when you watch Martinelli, there's a lot less variation to his game because of the way he's
pass it backwards 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, so you either pass it backwards to recycle that ball and go down the attacking routes that our system provides, or you say, I'm going to beat my man with the ball, which is the hardest thing to do in football. So, and typically also those players that can do it aren't the ones that want to track back either, like a Eden Hazard.
and this is the conundrum, like that's where you get. So you could make a case of, I know Mikel Arteta talks of evolving the system, and I think in the last 3 years he has. Potentially he might have to do that again, because I do, for whatever reason, I know it was different, but I do miss the 2022-23 season. Almost forget it. Was it that? Yeah, it was in that. We looked, for the first time, we were attacking down the left, down the right. We looked balanced, and we've kind of gone the other way. I know I said last question, but like very quickly, I gotta get your thoughts. Do you have any hope of the Prem or the Champs before I let you get out of here? Is there any hope?
Champs. Yeah. Champions League. And listen, I was having this argument with someone the other day because they were like laughing at me for saying Arsenal got hope of the Champions League. I think our system is very, very suited to the Champions League.
It's more suited to the European model, 100%.
It 100% it is, yeah. In England, like, look what Newcastle did to us. Zero respect. They pressed like the pace of the game, etc. Is that the pace is different in Europe, and teams also want to play football. So it's not just about another good point. Yeah, and so they come to play their own game as well, and the pace is slightly different. I just feel like it suits us more. I think we're more comfortable with it. Now, what I would say is that in the league, one thing that we don't know is what Liverpool do under Arne Slot when they have a blip, because they haven't had a blip. They will surely have a blip. And no one could have predicted what happened to Guardiola's Man City this year, and that's a known entity. So how can we predict what will happen if an unknown entity in Arne Slot ends up having a bit of a difficult spell? I put a lot of focus on this game week in the Premier League, where Liverpool had to play 2 games, Bournemouth away, Everton away, with Bournemouth hitting form. And man, Kluivert's miss, if he had put that in, it could be
someone in good form as well. Just got played them on.
I know. So anyway, and now Everton, they won their last game 4-0. David Moyes is back, a bit of a feel-good there. Merseyside derby, anything can happen. It's these 2 games that I've been looking at thinking they have to drop points in this game. Liverpool have still got Man City away to play. Provided they drop points against Everton, we have a chance, okay? Because it could potentially derail. I personally think they're going to win the Premier League, so I don't hold much hope. But when I was having the argument with someone else who was laughing at me about Arsenal winning the Champions League, I said, look, don't laugh at me, right? Laugh at the institutions whose money depends on getting this right. Laugh at them. Let's go and look at what the bookmakers are saying. And this is what I always refer to, not that I would condone betting or anything, but they need to price these markets correctly to to be a viable business model, right? So it takes all the emotion out of it, all the bias out of it.
The cold-hearted evidence.
According to the bookies, we're joint second favourites. So how can any Arsenal fan tell me we can't win it if the bookies are saying we're joint second favourites?
We need to go out and do it. We're gonna have to probably do it without Bukayo Saka. I mean, I hope he's back, but I personally think we're not going to see him probably until April. Which I don't want to say it could be a blessing, but naturally, you just want him to come back when he's fit. I don't want any recurring injuries, and I do think Saka's going to have to be given scope to simply get back to his best. I know we look at him as the Messiah, but I think a lot of fans are going to place so much optimism that as soon as he's back, you're just ready, and they're gonna forget. It's just not how football works. Mo, let people know they can find you, man. Before I let you get out of here, big respect for doing this, man.
Yeah, we could just Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Arsenal Mo 8, and I don't do a lot of content. I'm too busy, but what I do regularly is my match reaction after every game. So tune in, watch that. Free Palestine, that's what I'm about.
Free Palestine every time, my guy. 100%. And as go on. Come on, my guy. No, man. We all know that. Let's be honest. We know the fuckery that's going on with there. We know why it's not reported on. We know the powers, but I mean, in our platforms where we can, we have to get it going. So yeah, Free Palestine. As the man said, you know where to find him. If you're too lazy to actually listen to what he said, just check the descriptions of this video or the title. All his shenanigans and information will be there. Mo, I know you're a family man. Let you go and do your thing, man. Best of luck, man.
Been a pleasure.
And hope you win something.
You, bro. Take care.
Come on, my guy. Peace.
Always like